faithfully bringing you value by interpreting great books from around the world. Hi there, this is Sally with Book Talk. Today we're diving into the book Super Cooperators for you. In running complex societies, cooperation is a must-have tool. Say you grab a coffee and a croissant at a cafe. Behind that simple act, folks from maybe 10 countries pitched in. That's the power of teamwork. The wide and deep cooperation among humans makes us the top cooperators in the cosmos. Cooperation's crucial, but betrayal pops up a lot. So how do we team up with folks, and what do we do when someone stabs us in the back? Super Cooperators has got the answers, and we'll break them down for you. Martin Nowak wrote it. He's a math and bio prof at Harvard. He started the first theoretical biology program at Princeton's Institute for Advanced Study, leading the way in using math for biology. And he's done great work in virus stuff, cancer, game theory, language evolution, and published over 350 papers in top journals. In the book, he looks at how genes, tribes, cells, societies, and ants cooperate, all based on the prisoner's dilemma. He sets up math models to break down the 5 ways cooperation works, showing how vital it is for tackling global issues. Only by pulling together can we save our planet. I'll break down the book for you in 4 parts. Part 1, how teamwork helps living things survive and evolve. Part 2, the theory behind cooperation. What's the prisoner's dilemma? Part 3, what makes cooperation tick? Lastly, what can help us work together better? First up, how does cooperation in nature help microbes, ants, and others survive and evolve? The author thinks cooperation might have been around before life even started. Back in the old days, Earth was a messy, lifeless place. But with lots of time and space, it cooked up a rich chemical stew. In these reactions, some molecules acted as catalysts, speeding things up. When molecule A acts as a catalyst to speed up molecule B's formation, and by chance, molecule B catalyzes A back. So, these chemical molecules refine each other through catalysis. A cooperative group crosses from non-living chemistry to biochemistry, forming replicating large molecules, single strands. RNA. RNA is a molecule that holds genetic info and can copy itself. The strand is key to life spreading. In self-replication, there's an error rate that's mutation. It can't be too high. If too high, RNA groups can't pass enough useful info to the next gen. But it can't be zero either. No mutations, no biodiversity like we see. Studies show complex single-strand RNA acts like enzymes. RNA helping each other speed up reactions. Another cooperative act. With tons of RNA in cells naturally, cells with cooperative RNA divide faster and get naturally selected. Cells multiply, forming single-celled life. And even these don't like to be alone. Around 3.5 billion years back, cooperation evolved, bringing multicellular bacterial chains, like filamentous bacteria, named for their chains. These multi-cells kill themselves so siblings can thrive, releasing precious nitrogen. 1 in 10 cells sacrifices itself. Around 1.8 billion years ago, a cell that could eat sugars for glycolysis to get energy. One cell swallowed another by chance, and that cell could use oxygen to break down glycolysis products for more energy. So cell A got more energy from B, and B got materials from A. They formed a win-win symbiosis that's symbiogenesis. This sparked higher-level cells, eukaryotes. Eukaryotic cells are a new cell alliance, the building blocks of plants, animals, and us humans. If we look inside human cells, there's an organelle called mitochondria with its own maternal inherited DNA. That means our cells fused with their ancestors long ago, forming symbiogenesis. Count C. WIT. Today, these organelles still power our muscles, digestive system, and brain. Nature, in that same timeless way, pairs simple organisms together to form cooperative bonds. The ancient ancestors of all the plants we know turned green only about 2 billion years ago. Back then, plant ancestors teamed up with smaller green organisms because these green organisms could grab sunlight and turn it into food. These green organisms later evolved into chloroplasts inside plant cells. In the human body's framework, Tissue development starts with early embryonic stem cells. They multiply and form various cell types. Different cells have different roles. They cooperate to keep the body running, but exceptions always pop up. Among all those cells, do any uncooperative ones show up? Yep, normal cells all have self-repair functions. But if a cell doesn't do its self-check properly, it divides when it shouldn't, keeps multiplying, gets selfish, and stops serving the whole tissue. Such cells are what we call cancer cells. Based on this, a new cancer treatment idea is to get cells cooperating again. We see cooperative behavior all over, from molecules to genes to cells. Put simply, the human body is an organism made of countless cells. Each person is like a society of cells. Of course, while marveling at the human body's brilliance, don't get too smug. Nature has massive superorganisms like social insects. For example, ants and bees. Each individual is like a cell. Some social insects adopted division of labor 60 million years ago, while humans only did so about 10,000 years ago, to move beyond hunting and gathering. For instance, in the tropics of the Western Hemisphere, you can find a deep red ant called the leafcutter ant everywhere. This ant society has 7 distinct ant types, with different sizes, performing about 30 specialized tasks together. Some ants cut leaves, while others transport these leaf fragments back to the nest. Others cut leaves into small squares during assembly line operations. But the ants don't eat the leaves. They coat them with enzyme-rich secretions to turn them into fungal compost. Worker ants harvest nutritious fungal bodies to feed larvae. Leafcutters are peaceful mushroom farmers. Millions of years before humans walked upright, ants developed agriculture, architecture, and even warfare. Social insects are Earth's most numerous and widespread land arthropods. Ants are the quintessential example. They demonstrate how cooperation triumphs over competition. We've seen cooperation's evolutionary role across life forms. Nature eliminates poor cooperators. So why does cooperation rationally yield optimal survival outcomes? Next in part 2, we'll explore cooperation's theoretical foundation. What's the prisoner's dilemma? The classic scenario, 2 criminals arrested separately. If both stay silent, each gets 2 years. If both betray each other, each gets 3 years. If one stays silent while the other betrays, the silent one gets 4 years. The betrayer gets 1 year. Best outcome, 1 year. Then 2, 3, worst being 4 years. What happens in reality? If both cooperate silently, they trade the best 1-year outcome for second best 2 years, still better than mutual 3-year sentences. Yet in reality, both often selfishly choose betrayal. Ended up with that third-rate outcome, 3 years each. That's the prisoner's dilemma. The reason resembles the chain of suspicion from sci fiction writer Lou Cixin's The Three-Body Problem. Both suspect if they stay silent while the other betrays, they'll face the worst outcome. 4 years. So both choose the relatively safer option, betrayal. They might get 1 or 3 years. In a single game, betrayal is indeed the self-interested move. But in reality, since you might deal with your partner again later, this creates a new model, the iterated prisoner's dilemma. Iterated prisoner's dilemma. The iterated prisoner's dilemma means playing multiple rounds with the same partner. Your current choice affects your partner's next move. To encourage future cooperation, you might try cooperating first instead of betraying. If both think this way, it can indeed push them toward cooperation. But sometimes you meet selfish players who betray next round even after your cooperation. So what's the best strategy against non-cooperation? Professor Axelrod at University of Michigan ran a virtual tournament with 200 consecutive prisoner's dilemma rounds. Contestants were computer programs with different strategies. The results stunned everyone. The winner was a program called Tit for Tat. Its strategy: start by cooperating, then mirror your opponent's last move every round after. Plainly, treat others exactly how they treated you. But this strategy has flaws. Humans or animals sometimes make honest mistakes. If both use tit for tat, it triggers endless retaliation. A single misunderstanding snowballs into tragedy. Later experiments revealed generous tit-for-tat outperformed the original. What? Its strategy: always reward cooperation with cooperation. When betrayed, cooperate with a certain probability. This introduces forgiveness, effectively stopping endless revenge cycles. So, in daily work and life, being a bit more forgiving is the best way to get along. Exactly how much to forgive depends on the person. To wrap up this part, we covered the book's basis in The Prisoner's Dilemma and concluded that the best strategy for dealing with people is generous tit for tat. When meeting someone new, start your relationship with a cooperative attitude. If faced with betrayal, try to be forgiving. Don't sweat small personal losses. Accept a fair or even slightly smaller share to keep the partnership going. By making the pie bigger, everyone, including you, gets more rewards. That's what cooperation's all about. So what are the mechanisms of cooperation?
That's what part 3 covers. There are 5 mechanisms: direct reciprocity, indirect reciprocity, spatial games, group selection, and kin selection. The first one, direct reciprocity, is simple: equal exchange.
Like in life, I scratch your back, you scratch mine. For example, at work, if a colleague gives you a nice gift, you'll remember to return the favor on their birthday. Or if a friend helps you move houses, then it's our duty to help them pack when they move. This is classic direct reciprocity. In nature, big fish let small fish and shrimp clean their parasites instead of eating them. That way, the big fish ditch pesky parasites, and the small ones get a free meal. A win-win. That's direct reciprocity in action. Aristotle said in Nicomachean Ethics that ideal friendships are based on equality, and only sincere reciprocity makes them possible. This leads to the second mechanism, indirect reciprocity. Compared to direct reciprocity, it adds one more factor: reputation. Usually we live in small groups where you learn about someone from others' experiences with them. That's their reputation. For instance, through casual gossip and jokes, you can judge someone's reputation and gauge their skills to decide whether to deal with them. Conversely, others can also decide whether to interact with you based on your reputation, because reputation matters. When helping others, you don't expect immediate payback. Through chit-chat and gossip, everyone will learn you're a generous, kind-hearted person. So your chances of receiving help someday greatly increase. For example, during the Napoleonic Wars, the famous Jewish banking family, the Rothschilds, always prioritized their clients' interests. Despite facing unimaginable pressure, they still protected their British clients' investments with maximum effort. Their impeccable crisis performance made everyone know the Rothschilds were trustworthy. Afterward, the Rothschilds became immensely wealthy. Their fortune exemplifies indirect reciprocity. The third mechanism, spatial games. Simply put, it considers geographic and spatial factors in the prisoner's dilemma. All organisms, including humans, have spatial structures. Different spatial structures affect game outcomes. The first two mechanisms assumed each player had only one opponent to interact with. But reality has multiple neighbors to choose from, like a Go board where each square has 8 adjacent squares you can engage. With 8 potential opponents, outcomes naturally differ. For instance, we live in different cities or villages, gathering in companies, schools, theaters, or communities. Different spatial population structures affect our ability to cooperate. Why do people aspire to live in first-tier cities? Because they have more cooperative people and better organized formal institutions. These spatial population differences impact how well individuals form social collaborations. This spatial factor mechanism is called spatial games. The fourth mechanism, group selection, means tribes with self-sacrificing members who help others for common good outperform others, gaining natural selection advantages. On the flip side, indifferent groups have many self-interested individuals who maximize personal gain, making the whole group less competitive overall. Looking at both groups holistically, the former has a much higher chance of winning in natural selection. In microbiology studies, Pseudomonas fluorescens is a great example. To stay on liquid surfaces, these bacteria produce polymers that form floating mats, but making them is costly. So cheater bacteria emerge who don't make polymers, freeloading on others' work. When cheaters multiply and outnumber honest bacteria, the mat sinks below the surface. The whole bacterial group that's eliminated by natural selection due to these cheaters. Meanwhile, groups with polymer-producing bacteria stay afloat and become group selection winners. Finally, the fifth mechanism, kin selection. Simply put, the closer your blood relation to someone, the harder you'll work to cooperate with them. This cooperation evolved because it helps organisms pass more genes to the next generation, expanding genetic legacy. If your main goal is passing genes to the next generation, it makes sense to help relatives who share those genes, even at personal cost. That's why social insects like ants and bees cooperate so intensely. It helps pass their genes. This gene passing happens through relatives, not individuals themselves. That's kin selection. So we've covered all 5 cooperation mechanisms. First, direct reciprocity. Direct help like, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Second, indirect reciprocity. Gaining help indirectly by building a good reputation.
Third, spatial games. How physical proximity affects cooperation outcomes.
Fourth, group selection. Cooperator groups outcompete betrayer groups in natural selection. Fifth, kin selection. Natural cooperation bias toward relatives. These 5 mechanisms appear across different cooperation models. However, only humans can use all 5 cooperation mechanisms, and the most praiseworthy thing here is human language ability. Due to a lack of mature language skills, even close human relatives like apes can't fully use indirect reciprocity. Because indirect reciprocity relies on building and spreading reputation, which needs strong language skills. So, in human society, with complex division of labor, we cooperate fully to keep society running smoothly and achieve great feats in civilization. You could say humans are truly deserving super cooperators. After all this, in the science of cooperation, what conclusions has the author drawn to guide and help daily life? So let's check out the final part of this book. First off, in daily life, do you ever wonder, punishment or rewards, which works better for managing teams? Some might think punishing selfish folks forces cooperation, so management should focus on punishment. But the author's research shows rewards are better at fostering cooperation. The author teamed up with Harvard game theory expert Drew Fudenberg to have 104 undergrads join a variant of the iterated prisoner's dilemma experiment. In pairs, 2 players can choose among cooperation, betrayal, or punishment. The study showed the lowest scoring players used punishment most often, sparking a retaliatory cycle that led to ruin. But higher scoring players didn't escalate to punitive payback. They stuck with betrayal to counter betrayal, like tit for tat and forgiveness we mentioned. Tit for tat strategy. From this, punishment doesn't help build cooperative relationships well. Then the author did another experiment with economist Tor Ellingson from Stockholm School of Economics, yielding more favorable conclusions. This experiment had 192 participants playing the iterated prisoner's dilemma. This time, besides cooperation, betrayal, and punishment, another element was added. The reward experiment results showed the highest scoring groups used rewards most frequently. Combining these experiments, the author concluded that rewards foster cooperation better than punishment and are more effective for team management and collaboration.
Got it now?
In daily life and work, reward cooperative behavior more and punish betrayal less. That's the better way to boost teamwork. Secondly, each of us has our own social circles, maybe even more than one. The author believes people who belong to multiple circles are more likely to succeed. For example, you might be a reporter at a newspaper and also a writer for a popular science book team. You and your neighbors share a community. You're in a public welfare group and a long-term gym member. All these are your circles.
When you're in more circles, you've got a better chance to escape betrayers trying to exploit you and join more cooperative ones.
In other words, multiple circles give you options. You can ditch betrayers and join cooperators. Cooperator-heavy circles attract even more cooperators, growing stronger. Betrayer circles struggle to attract newcomers, dwindling into vicious cycles. So flip the script. Become a cooperator first, and you'll naturally attract like-minded people.
Cooperation isn't just between people, it's between nations too.
With globalization deepening, many global issues require international cooperation, most being tragedies of the commons. So what's the tragedy of the commons? It means any resource free-for-all won't last. It gets abused. Why? Resources are limited. One selfish person triggers a rush, ruining everything. This concept was first proposed in 1968 by German ecologist Gerrit Hardin.
Real-world examples: worsening ocean pollution, carbon emissions, overpopulation, resource depletion, climate change.
On carbon emissions, Hardin noted U.S. per capita CO2 output was double the UK's and triple France and Sweden's.
This huge gap isn't from lacking tech or money. It's Americans refusing to change gas-guzzling cars and energy hogs' lifestyles. So, the key to solving the tragedy of the commons isn't tech issues. It's boosting global cooperation.
So how can we tackle the tragedy of the commons better?
The author says the best way is using reputation power. Broadcast everyone's actions publicly.
If people feel watched, they'll do more good deeds to impress others. That's actually the indirect reciprocity we talked about earlier. For instance, labeling energy use on appliances, publishing household energy costs in local papers, ranking company carbon emissions, and showing car fuel efficiency, all solid methods. For nations, international groups can rank countries' contributions and praise them globally. Only by strengthening global teamwork can we fix the tragedy of the commons. Cooperation is the eternal melody. Over the past few centuries, we've woven cooperation networks worldwide.
An Asian scientist's idea reaches U.S. peers instantly. A hit song spreads globally the day it drops online. We've got endless ways to boost cooperation.
But there's no utopia. Social cooperation will inevitably rise and fall.
We can't expect cooperation to last forever. But when it falters, we must rebuild fast with an open mindset to break the prisoner's dilemma.
All right, that wraps up Super Cooperators for you. Reading notes are below the audio. See you next time.